Please rise for invocation by Father Chris Hoffman of Our Lady of Hope Catholic Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father Chris.
Good evening. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for another day to experience your beauty in nature, your wonder in the laughter of children, and your goodness in a job well done. We have gathered here today to conduct the business of our city. You have made us stewards of your creation and of the resources of your people. You entrust us with the awesome task of providing services to your people, especially those in most need. Let us do so with prudence and care. Sometimes, Lord, it is hard to know how to care for each citizen and each problem with justice and fairness. Yet that is what we are called to do. So today, we ask that you send us an abundance of your grace to guide our city commissioners to use wisdom and understanding in adjudicating these issues and judging fairly for all parties concerned. We ask for a special blessing on our first responders, especially those we honor today. Keep them safe as they protect us always. Be with their families who worry that they return home safely each day. We ask that you guide the hand of our commissioners as they set contracts to make the city safer, cleaner, and more hospitable. Be with the most vulnerable and help us to attend to their needs. Be with all our visitors and fans who come to our area to enjoy the races. You desire that we experience joy and laughter. It is one of your great gifts. May their time in this area be safe and be a time to renew relationships with family and friends. May all that we do here tonight make our city better, and may it be pleasing in your eyes. And we ask all of these things of you, O God, who live and reign forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You going to be at the Boy Scout dinner Saturday?
I will be there.
See you there?
Too? Okay, see you then. Thank you all. God bless. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Ford.
Present.
Councilmember Fremont.
Here.
Councilmember Stover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. Public comments on the consent agenda items. If there's anything on the consent agenda that anybody would like to comment about, come on up. Now's your time. Robert?
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive North, Port Orange. My concern is with item 7A and 7C. It has to do with mead hunt, increasing the rate for professional construction inspection services to 9%, which seems a lot. But I wanted to point out that this contract expired in September, and the new contract, the extension, would end in September. So I'm going to assume that they're going to get their if it's approved, they're going to get their 9% for the past 4 months. But also I'm concerned about 7C, which is also mead hunt for consultant contracting, construction, engineering, inspection. And this project on Dunlawton Avenue is a FDOT thing where they're paying part of the funding. And what I'm concerned about is that this thing 7C says that the addendum is contingent on an approval of the extension and amendment of the Mead Hunt contract CA 3480, which is A. And my concern is that there's a possible commingling of funds between these two projects. One of the projects is watched over by FDOT, so that we don't want to get the two contracts confused and mixed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody else wish to comment on the consent agenda items? There being none, I need a motion to approve the agenda for the meeting tonight.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed? We have a meeting agenda approval. I need a motion in regards to the consent agenda items 6 through 9.
Move to approve consent agenda items 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second on consent agenda items 6 through 9. Call the roll, please.
Mayor, can you move your microphone closer, please?
Oh, yeah, yours is back there.
Get over there.
And yes, I'll do roll call. Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Stillman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I guess.
Would hope so.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
that wasn't meant to be a funny, but
It was funny.
I thought about it.
okay. Annual meeting of corporations, Port Orange Property Development Incorporated, joint annual meeting of the members, the directors, and design review board. Mr. Chase Tremont,
Oh, yes.
page 189.
Yeah. Call the meeting of the members, directors, and design review board of Port Orange Property Development, Inc. to order. I have the roll call, please.
Don Burnett.
Here?
Drew Bastian.
Here.
Scott Stillman.
Here.
Chase Tremont.
Here.
Marilyn Ford.
Present.
Do I have an objection to the notice of meeting? Hearing no objection, the notice is accepted. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of March 5th, 2019 meeting of the members and directors.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 5th, 2019 meeting of the Design Review Board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do I need to offer for a comment? All right. Let's see where we're at. Election of the boards. Do I have a motion to elect the board members? Drew Bastian, Don Burnett, Scott Stiltner, Chase Tremont, and Marilyn Ford.
Move to approve the board members, Drew Bastian, Don Burnett, Scott Stiltner, Chase Tremont, and Marilyn Ford.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any further business to be brought before the members? There being none, we'll move on to the business of the Board of Directors, election of officers, and the Board of Directors. Do I have a nomination for the position of chairman?
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate as a slate Chase Tremont for chairman, Drew Bastian for vice chairman, Scott Stiltner as president, Don Burnett as vice president, Marilyn Ford as secretary, and Dr. Scott Niels for treasurer, which are the current slate of officers right now.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. All right. Item 8, any further business to be brought before the Board of Directors? There being none, we'll move on to the business of the Design Review Board. We'll have the election of the chairman and vice chairman of the Design Review Board. Do I have a nomination to elect the chairman for 1-year term?
Move to nominate Mr. Chase Tremont.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Do I have a nomination to elect the vice chairman for a 1-year term?
Move to, go ahead.
Move to nominate Drew Bastian.
We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll give you a second. You stopped me from nominating you, by the way.
That's why she was quick on the darn. Well played.
Quick on the uptake.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And, okay, is there any further business of the Design Review Board? There being none, this annual meeting of the members, directors, and Design Review Board is adjourned. All right.
That brings us to the City Corporate Park Property Owners Association Incorporated Joint Annual Meeting Board of Members and Directors. If you would pass that to Mr. Stiltner for me.
There you go, sir.
Call the annual joint meeting of the City Center Corporate Park Property Owners Association to order. Roll call, please.
Don Burnett.
Here.
Drew Bastian.
Here.
Scott Stillman.
Here.
Chase Tremont.
Here.
Marilyn Ford.
Present.
Do I have a motion to accept the notice of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 15th, 2019 meeting?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Election of Board of Directors for 1-year term to include Don Burnett, Marilyn Ford, Drew Bastian, Scott Stiltner, and Chase Tremont. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
And I'll second.
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other business to be brought before the members of this corporation? Good. There being none, we will move on to the business of the Board of Directors. Item 6, is there any other business to be brought before the Board of Directors of the corporation? There being none, this meeting is adjourned. Let the excitement continue.
There we go. And we shall reconvene as council. Citizen participation on agenda. Miss Susie Weatherly. Pass that
Good
down,
evening,
Jake.
council. Thank you for your dedication and service. If I look familiar, I was here exactly a year ago with my same concern. Scott, will you take these and pass them to your left? I live at 1141 Harms Way, and the property adjacent to me has that crumbling retainer wall in the back. And I was here last year and we discussed it, and I thought there would be some resolution, and as far as I know, there's been none. I'd just like to know what recourse I have other than putting up a fence that's, other than the one that I've got now. I thought we were gonna find out who actually owned that when that subdivision was put in, and that retainer wall was there along, I think it's C-51 Canal, Spruce Creek Canal.
Yeah.
As an owner, I thought I owned 7 feet beyond that.
And I can't.
So I don't know. I don't know whether the county, the city, I don't know. Mosquito control, all of those things, variables were brought up, and it's not been resolved. I'm tired of looking at it.
I don't blame you. Jake, I know that we looked at it last year. Did,
Yes, sir. I went out there with Lynn and Ronnie, and that whole wall was built by the developer, belongs to the city. So our options are take the whole wall down, take some of the wall down, or take none of the wall down. The wall, if I recall last time I looked, was falling down in 2 sections. We're afraid if we take down one little piece of the wall, although it's crumbled, it's still standing to the adjacent parts. But if we cut it and take it down, it's going to start falling down and affect multiple homes. So our option is to take down the whole wall. If we take down the whole wall, we'll have approximately 15 homes to the north of this home that will be affected. Some people use that wall as their fence. A, we have to fund it, and B, we have to do a pretty healthy community campaign of education and informing before we bring it down. We could entertain cutting this one piece, but what we're afraid is if we cut this one piece, it will become multiple pieces and become a cost that we haven't budgeted for. So right now, we obviously haven't done anything to it. But if you'd like, we can cut it and give it a shot. We just haven't had the budget to deal with the follow-on second and third order effects of cutting it and repairing it.
I
But
think we can
wouldn't-
all agree what we're seeing now doesn't work. So we gotta
But
do
would
something.
piecemealing that be cheaper than, I mean, that'd be the lesser of 2 evils,
Did we
to try that.
I'll give it to my Public Works Department. We'll see if we can get something in there short term to
Yeah.
to make it look good while we come up with a bigger solution,
Good.
better solution.
Jake, did we ever send Frank Flagg over there and take a look and see if it could be shored up and rebuilt or anything?
I'll send Frank Flagg over there.
Just see, get his, I don't know, maybe that would,
I got a whole team of people.
okay.
So
What's your address again?
1141. That sounds good to me.
All I can say is that it's ironic that you live on Harm's Way.
Hey, I've lived there 40-some years. Don't crack any jokes on it. I've heard all of them. And I've read the book and I've
You
seen the
probably
movie.
invented a few of them, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, ma'am, I just talked to our, ma'am,
Susie?
I just talked to our Public Works person. We'll be out there pretty quick and just do what we can to do it in the short term. It might not be a permanent solution, though. All right.
Pete Ertl?
Good evening, Mayor,
council members, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. There is a rumor, of course, that a marina is going to be attempted in the same area that was approved back in 2009, which never got Army Corps approval, and nothing ever happened. In the meantime, I have looked into the ramifications of driveways going across the parkland to offshore properties. Yesterday, I heard the rumor that something might be presented today. So I hastily put something together and I sent it to all of you. Did you all get it? Do you have hard copies of it?
Have an e-copy.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Just got it.
Okay. Just a minute.
This is the same thing you emailed out?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have the e-copy.
Yeah. I think there are 4 things that are going to be impacted by this if it was to be proved again. The problem is to actually finally show up when a thing is actually built. But,
Mayor, I'm sorry, just, Mayor, point of order for just a second, if we can hold this time. I just want to make sure that the speaker does know that this is not an agenda item tonight, and that we don't even have an application
I understand that.
towards that. You had made some
Yeah.
comments there that there was something going to happen tonight,
No.
other than you coming
Not
to talk to
happening.
us, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Okay.
that you're aware of that.
Well, I think I'm just
So I mean you're right.
alerting, I'd like to alert you if it's okay.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, the first thing
Nothing
is
wrong with getting
that-
ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, get ahead of it. First thing is that the park is leased from the state. And the lease says specifically that it's to be used only for public park and open space. It's hard to understand how driveways to properties off that, which have nothing to do with the park itself, would fit in that category. That should kill it right by itself. The second thing is the idea of access to public highways. I know some people in the town are of the impression that that is automatic. Generally it is, because generally you're dealing with properties that are both on land. However, there's an exclusion in there where water has to be crossed, and it does not require that. As a matter of fact, if you look at the statute, you could say it would strongly discourages it, although it doesn't completely eliminate it. The third thing is there is an applied easement statute in the state of Florida, which has an exclusive provision excluding the state from being the subservient party in an easement implied. And in this case, writing a driveway across property is an easement. There's just no way around it. You can call it a car, a Mercedes, a luxury automobile, but it's still a car. So that would violate that. And finally, the fourth thing is that it would violate the public trust doctrine. Public trust doctrine, which is enshrined in the Florida State Constitution, requires that before any public property be used for private use, that it be deemed in the public interest. Am I out of time?
Yep.
How much more time do you need?
30 seconds?
Considering we interrupted you and probably interrupted your flow, council, we amenable to
fine.
giving them 30 more seconds?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Before public property could be used for a private interest, it has to be deemed to be in the public interest. It's hard to believe that a driveway going across a public park to a private exclusive area for whether it be 100, 50, 1,000, or 1 individual constitutes a public use. And so therefore, it would have to, it's kind of strange for that to be that happening. Not only that, but even if that was determined to be in the public interest, you still have to recoup the money for it, so you have to pay for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out. Robin, I didn't have any others? Okay. That brings us to council comments. Marilyn, you want to lead us off?
Okay, actually, those comments were timely. The Hometown News, which I love to read, has a section on rants and raves. And aside from the personal problems or kudos to people. And January 3rd of this year, there was a rant about don't bring back the marina idea. And then on January 24th, there was another one about the marina at Dunlawton Causeway Park. And so I know I had a meeting with the people that proposed it in the fall. They indicated they'd be coming back. I thought both of these were very interesting because they showed up in January. They caught my eye. And I just wanted to say, I don't think it's a good idea. Not as sophisticated as Mr. Ertel there in terms of expressing the reasons why, but I think that's a congested area. I am concerned about the bird sanctuary there, and I just don't think it's a smart idea to be talking about putting a marina on the south side there. I know that when Fish Restaurant came to us, they talked about the possibility that they might come forward with a marina on the north side of the causeway, and there was one there historically. I think that makes much better sense.
In a commercially developed
Right.
area already.
So I just wanted to say that. The other thing I would note is Mr. Reinhagen's comments about some of the items on the consent agenda being extensions of previously lapsed agreements. That's one of the things I noted myself, and I talked with the city manager about it. And so I would just note, if council hasn't noticed it, that I've asked the manager to work with staff to monitor the contracts so that they do not lapse, and we're not always running after them to renew. I don't think that's a good business practice, and I think it also makes us more competitive to be ahead of the curve. So instead of going to, say, an automatic renewal, which can occur, and if our partner is a good vendor, it makes every sense to continue things. That's why you typically have a base and an extension. But I think it's smart to be ahead of the curve and do things much more timely. So that's one of the things he's aware of, and those are my comments.
All right. Chase?
Good tonight. Thanks. Drew?
I'm also good tonight.
Scott?
Just a couple of quick comments. We're going to recognize some public or first responders here in a couple of minutes, but I also want to recognize another city employee that's in the audience tonight, Amanda Lasecki.
Stand up, Amanda. Where's she at?
Where's Amanda?
She's hiding back
Stand
there.
up.
She's hiding.
Oh, there she
Come up here.
I hope you prepared your speech.
No, not yet.
Not until March 6th, anyway.
March 6th, in case.
Not yet, but she's hopeful.
It's a long title, Amanda, so if you're okay with it, I'll read it. But we just want to say congrats to you. Amanda has been selected to be featured as one of the 2020 Business Report's top 40 under 40 people. Amanda's our city grants manager and does an exceptional job for the city of Fort Orange. So we just want to say thanks, and we look forward to seeing that
Thank
article
you.
coming out. So.
I know that
Thank
we
you, Amanda.
emailed back and forth a little bit about that, and I just want to say something about the value that you add. When Jake first came on as city manager, most of you know we were outsourcing this, and I'm a big fan of doing that where it makes sense. And we were missing out on a lot of opportunities because it came back on us. Some of the things that a grants manager does is bringing forward opportunities. When we were outsourcing, it was a very reactive thing. And all I got to say is, thank God we brought this in-house, and you have done a terrific job for us.
Thank you very much.
She's the
Anybody
leader of
else wanna-
OPM.
Yeah, she's.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you, Amanda. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now wait a second. Quick question before you go away. Did we sufficiently embarrass you?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was, I didn't hear.
Did you get sufficiently embarrassed?
Yes.
Okay.
That's enough for tonight.
We even brought you back up
Till
here.
March 6th. Oh,
No, very much proud of the job that you've done. Thank you very much.
thank you.
And Mayor, last comment, I just want to, we try to recognize city employees as frequently as possible for different time periods that they've served with the city, different awards, things that they do that definitely go above and beyond the normal calls for duty. But the one thing I want to make sure we do tonight is also recognize the family members and the friends that support not only our police and firefighters, but all of our city employees. You know, we have a lot of different uniforms, a lot of different hats that folks wear, and it's the family and the friends that support them tremendously that are behind the scenes. And so just want to thank everybody that's here to support those employees tonight and that continue to do that every day and every night for the city of Port Orange, because that is having been a former employee in the city, I can just tell you it makes all the difference in the world to know you got family and friends and fellow co-workers that stick behind you and stick together, and it's a great thing to see, and it's a huge benefit for all of them in our city. That's all I got tonight.
Okay. I just had two notes in this in general. The State of the City address is going to be held at luncheon on February 19th. Anybody who wishes to attend can go to the city website and register. We'd love to have you. Hopefully everybody up here, if you're free, ladies and gentlemen, that you can be there as well. And if you're not, you have a feature role in the video that'll be playing anyway. And I thought it was very interesting. Drew wasn't there last year, and it seemed like the blooper reel was all about you. So
Probably.
maybe you ought to be there this time. And the second thing of interest is the citizen survey that we do every year, the 2020 Citizen Survey. The link to that has also been posted on the city website and Port Orange City Hall social media. That feedback that we get from our citizens through the citizen survey is very important to us. And not just in clicking 5, clicking 4 and the numbers, but the actual comments that people type in. It's voluminous reading when we get it, but all the same, those comments are like food to us. So please, everybody listening, we take time. Let us know what you think. What we're doing well, what we're doing not doing so well. We need your input. And that was all I had for this week. So that brings us to special awards, reports, recognition, and proclamations. Item 13, update from Team Volusia.
Mayor,
Oh, wait a second. They were punting to.
they'd like to, reschedule
Punting to the
for
next meeting.
February 18th. I had lunch with them today. You're going to speak with them on Friday.
Yep.
They want to talk to both of us before they come.
And I recall that Keith Norton had.
Yes,
So
sir.
we'll be hearing from them next meeting.
Yes, sir.
So for some reason, we've got an awful large crowd in the
Yeah, we
audience. And I think it probably has something to do with items 14 and item 15, which is recognition of the Firefighter of the Year, Spencer Starnes, Police Officer of the Year, Detective Sylvia Portio. And last week at the chamber, during a breakfast, the Officer of the Year and the Fire Person of the Year were both recognized for the City of South Daytona and the City of Port Orange in a very nice breakfast and ceremony. And I think it's always important to be able to give the proper recognition right here in council so that people on TV and in the audience can see exactly what it is that they do. And with that, Firefighter of the Year is Chief Fuston. Chief Fuston's not here.
You're gonna
Chief
stand
Wilson.
in?
So we got an interesting
Wilson.
stand-in.
We'd rather hear from you anyhow.
Ah,
Yeah.
Just don't tell the
that.
chief.
I won't,
I
yeah.
like that.
Don't rat him out, Ken, okay?
Yeah, and
Gary?
he apologizes for not, he had to go to a funeral in
Yeah.
Illinois, so,
gonna pass
yeah.
it.
Some
unfortunately.
excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Burnett, council members and guests in the audience. I'm Gary Wilson, Division Chief for Port Orange Fire Rescue. I would like to introduce our Port Orange Firefighter of the Year for 2019, firefighter paramedic Spencer Starnes. Firefighter Starnes began his career with Port Orange Fire on April 10th, 2017. He made an immediate impact, bringing his previous experience as a transport system paramedic at a time when this department was moving forward with becoming a transport-capable fire department. The following are just a few areas that Firefighter Starnes, some of these reasons why you were nominated. So, some of you may know cancer is one of the leading causes of firefighter deaths, tragically right up with suicide. To combat occurrences of firefighter exposure to carcinogens during and after fire, Firefighter Starnes requested and received permission to write a grant to an organization called Responder Wipes. This company sells a product that can
when introduced, can decontaminate firefighters after they exit a burning building. The Responder Wipes organization visited Port Orange in 2018 to present our department with enough decontaminating products to help keep our members safe for many years to come. All of this was a result of Starnes' research and vigilance to keep his brothers and sisters in the fire service safer by eliminating chances of exposure to cancer-causing agents. Another of Spencer's efforts was his assistance in writing the DECON standard operating procedure for our department. He then trained all our members on how to properly decontaminate themselves with grant-funded equipment. Firefighter Starnes' commitment to increasing awareness to cancer prevention also includes his selection to attend the annual Firefighter Cancer Awareness Symposium in Miami, Florida. He will be a special guest of our retired fire chief, Thomas Weber. Firefighter Starnes also excels in his physical fitness
And mustache maintenance.
and his preparation to do the strenuous job of being a firefighter. He recently completed the physically grueling annual smoke divers training course held here in Florida, in Ocala, at the State College. So I'd like to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, to Port Orange's Firefighter of the Year, Spencer Starnes.
Time to get your grilling. Why don't we start at this end with Scott?
Congratulations, thank you for the service, and that's a remarkable example of the initiative that employees like yourself take that a lot of times go unnoticed, and it's great to hear that and get the recognition. One of the things I got to ask you is, fire departments are really a close-knit group, and I know that some of your fellow firefighters are really good at razzing people sometimes when they get recognition. Have you had any of that yet going on, or is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
A little bit of that.
You don't have to
half the
disclose.
department in the back of the room.
Some
I
of
can't
them will
imagine that
smile
happening,
at
right?
You don't have to disclose. I just want to make sure tradition's being followed.
Yeah.
So, but congratulations. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Drew?
Yeah, I'd agree. Congratulations, first off. We appreciate you, what you do, and the commitment you make to Port Orange. So, well done. That's a long list of accolades that the chief went over, and you should get recognized for that, because it's impressive, and you're not only just doing the job and helping the citizens, you're helping your own group, and that's mighty impressive. So, well done.
Thank you.
Case?
I'd have given you the award just because of the mustache. To be honest with you. That's cool looking.
You just set him up for more razzing.
I was thinking about this while you were up there and all the things that you go through and to do, and a lot of people in a lot of positions, they wonder what kind of difference they're making. My, last couple years of my dad's life, he was a frequent customer of transport, and the interaction that he would have with a lot of those folks meant the world to him, therefore meant the world to me. So what you do impacts not just those people that you're transporting, but guys like me that get a phone call from their parents afterwards, and they can recount the stories. So thank you for what you do. It's incredibly important and valuable.
Thank you.
Marilyn?
Certainly firefighters go into the business because they want to help people. I think what is evident from the description of what you've done, you really want to make your workplace and your family a better place. And I think that is not only admirable, you really are setting a standard of professionalism and making sure everybody's healthy and safe that you work with. That is just remarkable. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is amazing, we sweat decisions up here, and one of them certainly wasn't transport. But one thing that was happening is that at an emergency scene, you guys are being sent anyway. And you take somebody by the hand and say, "Don't worry, I'll wait with you. Don't worry, I'm not leaving you. Don't worry, I'm with you." Now you're telling them, "Don't worry, I'm taking you right now." And I think it's just absolutely terrific that you can do that and do that with a smile and the professionalism that this department does, and you embody that, and we greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Gary, do me a favor. The information in the bio that you read me, particularly about the cancer wipes, the clean wipes, send that to me, please, because I'd like to talk about that a little bit in the state of the city in a couple of weeks. I think people deserve to know what's going on. And of course, now I've got the problem of getting a 50-minute speech into a 40-minute speech. Now it just became an hour long, but that's good stuff. I'd appreciate that if you,
Yeah.
and I'm going to share that. I appreciate what you did.
Awesome.
Not just for everybody in the city, but the people you work with.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you all.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Congratulations.
Chief Grimaldi, I think you've got somebody that you'd like to present to us.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before I begin with our police officer here, I'd like to first start by congratulating firefighter Spencer Starnes. Congratulations to him for his achievement, and as a resident, thank you. So, well done. Tonight I'm here and I'm honored and proud to announce that the Port Orange Police Officer of the Year for 2019 is Detective Silvio Portillo. Detective Portillo is a U.S. Marine veteran and has been a member of the Port Orange Police Department since 2012. In February of 2019, Silvio was assigned to the Detective Division, where he immediately made a positive impact and continues to excel to this day, providing exceptional service to our citizens. Of particular note, this past year, on 2 separate occasions, Detective Portillo was able to identify suspicious activity, which led him to 2 intense investigations. Subsequent to these investigations, Detective Portillo was able to identify a criminal enterprise operating not only in Florida, but in southeastern United States, in which its members were involved in a very lucrative fuel ring theft and a very lucrative credit card ring theft. Both investigations and subsequent arrests led to the United States Secret Service picking up our case and furthering the investigation with federal charges. It is obvious, to me at least, that Detective Portillo has strong investigation and communication skills, but what really makes him who he is much more than just that. It's his overall positive attitude that he brings to work every single day, his willingness to be a team player, his dedication to duty are all characteristics that should be emulated by all police officers. He continues to represent the Port Orange Police Department and the City of Port Orange in the most favorable light. He embodies our mission of our agency, and he's not only a credit to our agency, but he's a credit to our entire profession. So without further ado, I present to you Detective Silvio Portillo as our Police Officer of the Year for 2019.
All right, why don't we start the grilling on this side this time? Marilyn?
Okay. Well, to be a cop is difficult enough. To be a good cop, which is what your description is absolutely fantastic. I know that it's not easy to investigate things, and obviously you are persistent, diligent, intelligent, thorough, all the things that we all are happy that you're working in our city and keeping us safe. Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chase?
Yeah. Again, I'm going to make it personal again, because I grew up here on these streets, and I made it to adulthood because of guys like you out there on the force, and I'm confident in that. I have 4 kids here. You know, I chose to raise my family here because it's the second safest place in the state of Florida, and I'm confident that they're going to reach a full life, Lord willing, because of the protection of guys like you and everybody else out there. So your work is valuable. It's truly appreciated. Well done, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Drew?
Congratulations. It's a big honor, but we see you up here on a pretty regular basis when Chief does the platoon awards and accommodations and things. So I can remember seeing you at least 4 or 5 times up here. So continue doing what you're doing. It's appreciated. You know, we appreciate what you do, and it's just awesome to see to get recognized for doing your job. But obviously, it's I can see you're a humble guy, and you're up here getting recognized, and probably you probably, probably doesn't, you really don't want to be there in the spotlight because you're just doing your job, but it's way more than that.
Thank you, sir.
Much appreciated.
Scott?
Getting comfortable coming in here, aren't you? We're going to get a chair with your name on it here before long. So.
Yeah, we put one down front.
Very proud of you, and we're honored in the city to have men and women like yourself that serve day in and day out. You are somebody who wears a lot of hats. You've got a lot of responsibilities, and I know that it's just not investigating one case at a time. You've got other things which are evident with the patches on your uniform and the medals on your chest, and then you've got the family aspect of it as well. So again, thank you very much. Very proud of you, and just keep up the great job. And I will tell you this for the police officers and the firefighters, our residents really appreciate you guys a lot. They don't always say it, just like we do. Sometimes things just become, that's just who we are as a city, right? But they really, really do, and we hear it a lot, especially just common passing, which I think that's some of the best ways that we can hear those kind of remarks, honestly. And so, but thank you for everything you do. Very proud of you, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely no doubt about it. The second safest city designation that we got last year has a lot to do with so many things. Certainly public safety, certainly an active citizenry, a very involved group of businesses, but it starts with commitment from people just like you. And I know that commitment can't happen without people behind you. And you have your wife with you, your two daughters with you, your parents with you. And I know that this one might cost you some money because you got to go to Ritter's afterwards to celebrate, right? 'Cause that's what you said. You said you're going to ask Daddy for a trip to Ritter's.
Oh, man.
You complimented him, you told him what a great job he does, and now you can ask him for the trip to Ritter's. And because I said it up here, it has to happen, right?
That's expensive.
And I really can't believe you decided to buy for everybody. It is a sisterhood and a brotherhood, and a lot of those people that you serve with are standing behind you right now. And it really is a reflection of the values that this community puts on the people who serve in public safety. Really can't thank you enough for all that you do. Just, I know that all of you in the room, police and fire alike, just putting on the uniform and getting up and going to work every day puts you in the line of fire, but you do that for us. And oftentimes you do it when we don't know what's going on. We may be sleeping, we're going about our lives, but you're there. It's a commitment, and you do that with the commitment of the people behind you, like your families, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just end with, Silvio picked up on this stuff. We had sent him to a training class, which taught him what to look for, the signs and symptoms of this type of behavior. And he actually, what was it, about a month after, it was shortly after he got back from this class with that knowledge that we sent him to training for, he was able to pick up this stuff. As you know, about 4 years ago, we decided to try to increase our training at the police department. And we did. We're making great strides with that. But again, we talk about support. Thank you. Thank this council for your support in supporting us with that initiative, because this is a product of that. So thank you to each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Congrats.
We're going to move on to the Environmental Advisory Board report, but we'll give you, before that happens, let's give them a few seconds to clear out. We'll give them a minute to figure out where Ritter's is.
They probably got ice cream at the fire station.
Item 16, Environmental Advisory Board report. How are you?
Good.
So you guys got together last Monday and kicked some things around.
We did.
Nice.
And one of them was Ms. Macaluso is no longer the chair. I am.
And who are you again?
I'm Chris Cunningham. And I've come here to give a brief overview of what we've been doing, which has been a little bit different than previous years, we've been engaging with the residents by participating in the Fall Festival, and we're going to participate in the Spring Festival as well.
Good.
In the Fall Festival, we did recycling as our theme, and also brought in the Native Plant Society.
Okay.
And so we shared a table, and in that event, since we were all sharing a table, that ended up with the city working with the native plant for under the Dunlawton Bridge for the new over by the deck down under. So our networking is involving lots of different groups, which is very encouraging. We've had some wonderful presentations. The Volusia County is focused on the fertilizer, so we had Megan Martin, who is Bee Floridian Now, and they are an educational program that goes around the county educating citizens and children and how to not use fertilizers and follow the rules from March until September. And so they're going to be our focus at the Spring Festival, as in addition to the Environmental Board introducing themselves to the public and let them know that we exist. We're just like a little acronym, but we're going to be out there with a pamphlet telling them what we do, how to contact us, and really engage in environmental concerns, because that's become the way the cities are now handling issues within the city. And following with clean water, like the county is focusing on, we had an excellent presentation from Lynn on septic to sewer, and so we're really engaging a lot more in local issues, but bringing them in and focusing on putting that information out to the residents as well.
It looked like you had a very full agenda.
Yes, we always do. We just really feel that it's been, before with the trees, that was great. We worked on that for a very long time, and everybody learned, but it was time to move on. So John Macaluso really spearheaded the board to start focusing on getting our what we do out in different ways. So, does anybody have any questions?
Questions? This end?
No.
This end?
No, nothing.
No questions, but I really appreciate what you do, and I always
Yes.
appreciate the open dialogue that we have.
Thank
We got to have at least one of us suck up to you.
you.
Mayor, I
appreciate
have
it. Well,
one
I'm looking
comment or
forward to-
add-on for Chris and the public.
Mhm.
So we have a light-duty person on our staff right now, on the city manager's staff, working with Megan and Bee Floridian Now to try to come up with a city-specific program that we will probably do a lot of research for and pitch over to the Environmental Advisory Committee to mull about and see if that's something that they want to present. But the goal is to try to have a list of important things to do, and if you do them, you'll be part of a elite group of people somehow identified, be it a flag in your front yard or some other designation. Probably for residences first, I would think, but up to the Environmental Advisory Board. But it'll probably be an offshoot of Bee Floridian Now, and we'll work with the county and the Environmental Advisory Board and keep those things going. But
We talk about all the issues and the large topic of sustainability. It is a very, 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 very big apple to take a bite out of, but this is how you do it. A bunch of small bites at a time, a little bit, with a lot of communities working at it.
And they do. New Smyrna works a lot with their residents. And so part of engaging with them is bringing people on to really farm out the information. Instead of speaking at them, we're going to have them hopefully be engaged in what we're doing and get their help. And I think that would really get a lot of push towards getting them to change the way they do some of the things, with a big picture of the city really stepping up and supporting them.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you.
Well,
Good to
thank
see
you.
you.
Good to see everybody.
You too.
Parks and Recreation Advisory Board appointments. We have 3 people currently serving, but in the fact that we're reducing it to an odd number of people on the board means we only have 2 openings, and According to the agenda packet, all three people serving express an interest: James Richard, Mike Navarro, Pat Baracco, and we also had applications from Jonathan Foley and Robert Reinhagen. So we've got some interesting math to see how 5 goes into 2.
We're reducing those?
We did have 10 people on that board, and we're reducing it to an odd number. I forget whether it was 9 or 7. 7. We're, so as
To
board
get a quorum.
openings.
To keep a quorum.
To keep
That
a
was
quorum.
the problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we have 2 openings. Before I accept any nominations, there are some people, some applicants present. Certainly like to hear from you guys about what and why you want to serve or continue serving. And then I'll accept nominations, and then we will do a paper ballot. Who wants to go first?
Mr. Navarro would.
Come on, Mike.
I'm like, yeah, like you're shy.
Yes, sir.
Not.
Mike Navarro. I've been on the board for 2 years now. I think I've
2
been.
years feels like a whole lot longer.
I know,
than
doesn't
that.
it? I feel like I've been an asset to the board. I work on kind of being a conflict in it. There's a lot of issues going on that we've been dealing with Parks and Rec partners. I know that's been, we're mine because I'm president of the baseball club. So I'm involved being one of the partners. So my interest has been making sure that we're doing everything we can for the kids. I have been in parks, involved in parks since I think my kids were 8. So what are they? Michael's 20 now. So 12 years we're doing it now. So
You're that old.
I know. Yeah. So and I just like to serve back on the board again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Robert, did you want to? Robert Reinhagen also applied.
Mayor, members of the council, I have applied because I've been attending a lot of their meetings, and I'm very impressed with what they do and their dedication, and I'm really intrigued by their attempt to try to balance the private and public participation in the programs. And I'm learning all the time, and if I can contribute, I'm more than willing to contribute. And I will assure you that if you don't select me, I won't be upset, and I will not reduce my participation, and you will still hear from me.
That's okay.
Good.
I
Thank
also
you.
know that there'll be board openings on this board in the future as well, and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert. Anybody else here who wants to be considered for nomination? Because technically, we're not limited to the applicants, but it does help to know who the applicants are.
Right.
With that in mind, just to let everybody know, I will open nominations. I will accept all nominations with a motion and a second for a nomination. At the end of that, if we have more than 2 people nominated, then we will ballot. You will vote for 2 of the names, and the top 2 vote getters will be appointed. You will vote on paper by putting 2 names down on paper. The city clerk will tally the vote, and if there's a tie at some point, then we'll have to find a way to break it.
We're
And
putting, Mayor, we're putting 2 names on this one?
Well, you're going to vote for 2, but
Whenever
we need to
whoever's
put names in
nominated.
nomination first.
Okay.
Nominations for the position of Parks and Rec Advisory Board is now open.
Mayor, I'd like to make a nomination. This is one of those boards that I think this board has done a terrific job. I'm not interested in changing anything, although I think Mr. Reinhagen will do a terrific job. But in the interest of keeping what we already have going well, I'd like to nominate Mike Navarro to the board.
May I
I'll
have a
second
second?
that.
We have
I'll
a motion.
second it.
We have a nomination, and we have a proper second. Mike Navarro's name is now has been nominated and is a nomination. Other nominations?
I would like to nominate Robert Reinhagen.
I'll
I
second.
think new blood on the board is important, and I don't speak against any of the current members, but I do think it is good to have new citizen participation, and my estimation of Mr. Reinhagen when he's appeared before us, he's very thoughtful, He researches the issues, and so while he may be a newcomer to the board, I think he might inject some new enthusiasm that perhaps would serve them well.
I'll happily second it.
We have a nomination and second, and a proper second for Mr. Robert Reinhagen. Other nominations?
I'd like to nominate James Richards.
Second.
Mr. James Richard has been nominated and seconded. Any other nominations? Last chance. Nominations are now closed. So we have 3 names in nomination: Mr. Mike Navarro, Mr. James Richard, Mr. Robert Reinhagen. On your ballot, you're going to place 2 names, and then you make sure you sign your ballot because this is a public record. And then Robin will collect them and tally them and read the results.
You're gonna get one. Oh, Chief is gonna get. Chief's gonna get his water. I thought Chief was getting the ballot.
You almost got put on a board, Chief.
Yeah.
The law that Parks and Rec.
Mayor, do we get to make comments before we vote?
What's that?
Do we have to make comments before we vote?
You want to make comments?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Before we read the...
Yeah.
Well, why don't you do that right now while Robin is... anybody have any comments before Robin reads us the results?
Okay. Well, this is one of those tough situations, like the mayor said, doing the math. You have 5 people for 2 spots. Somebody, there's 3 people that are not going to make it to this board. The number's being reduced for, attendance reasons and to get a quorum. And, we're in a position, 5 applicants that want to volunteer their time and help, and we can only pick 2. So these are decisions I don't like so much because we want to include everybody, and it's just impossible in
It's
situations.
a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have, but it also kind of stinks too that
Yeah.
we can't have more help and volunteers and assistance.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one. I think that in the future going forward, even if somebody is a current board member, we should have, if they're asking for reappointment, all the applications should be presented, because I think that they're all there in one place. You don't have to go hunt
Yeah.
them down.
And particularly for somebody that wasn't here the last time they were
That's
appointed.
correct. Yeah, I just have to hope I know the
No,
people.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'm hunting.
Well, and we'll do
Not a
that.
problem. I
Yeah,
can do that.
we'll do that. Well, we'll hand out the form. Guys like Michael
Well, I
do
mean,
it.
I always have a form, it might
You-
just be old, but I can try to get them to
Have
fill
it-
out a
let's
new
have 'em
one.
updated,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could update it.
You ready?
What do we got?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we have 4 votes for Mike Navarra, 4 votes for James Richard, 2 for Robert Reinhagen.
Okay, so Mike Navarra and James Richard have been appointed?
Yep.
Okay,
All righty.
thank you very much.
There we go.
You're rehired. I guess you really like the pay and benefits? Robert, I appreciate you putting your name in the nomination.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Brings us to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Item 18. Item 18 is second reading of ordinance number 2020-1, the 16th Amendment to the Countryside Plan Unit Development Master Agreement. Ordinance number 2020-1 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving the 16th Amendment to the Countryside Plan Unit Development Master Land Use Plan for approximately plus or minus 1.7 acres, located at 1090 Dunlawton Avenue, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2020-1.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Second reading, council comments or questions? Being none, would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, back to us. Final comments or debate?
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. I believe that's 5-0. The public hearing portion of the meeting is now closed. Back to regular agenda. Item 19, approval to renew contract for golf course management with Kemper Sports. May I have a proper motion? Recommended motions to approve I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Helps if I click on the right one. The recommended motion is to approve the renewal Kemper Sports contract for the 2 additional years available and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the associated documents. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a proper second. The item's on the floor for discussion. Who is this gentleman?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's Peter Ferreira, Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation Department.
See, I've known this guy for 30 years.
Long
but
time.
I've never seen him at this table.
Scary, right?
Yes.
All right, tonight, again, we will be talking about the Kemper contract renewal. The purpose to review the information as it relates to renewing the contract. The agenda tonight, we're going to be giving a little brief background history and overview. That will really summarize all of the addendums and agreements that you have attached to the item. We have a brief analysis. We looked at some other cities to see exactly how much money, whether they're making or losing money on their municipal golf courses as well, and then we're going to provide a recommendation at the end. So to start the history, 2012, the city hired Kemper Sports Management to manage the course operations, maintain the grounds, and operate the food and beverage for a mixed management fee plus the expenses. At that time, the management fee was set at $85,000 with a 2% CPI, and the term was for 5 years with 1 5-year renewal. Moving forward to April of 2015, when we had a lot of renovation happening on the course, Kemper did agree to reduce the management fee by 50% for a time period of 6 months. Move forward to September of the same year, the city entered into a lease agreement with Cypress Greens for the food and beverage operations for the golf course, and Kemper agreed to a 24% management fee reduction at that time due to the decrease in services, which made the new fee to be $72,756 annually. At 2015, the assistant city manager provided a report to you all comparing Cypress Head to other municipal courses, and that report was attached to the item. 2017, July, council did agree to renew Kemper's contract for 3 years with an optional 2-year renewal. Move forward to the next month, we had the unfortunate event of Cypress Greens with no notice, kind of just up and leaving there, the food and beverage operations. And in February of 2018, council approved the agreement with Flagsticks to operate the food and beverage at the golf course. And then moving to today, this year, September 30th of 2020, the contract needs to be renewed, and we need to give at least 6-month notice on what the intent is from council. So this is why we're here today. These are the other counties and cities that we got information on that also own municipal golf courses. Keep in mind all the data that you see was provided from their CAFR, so it's strictly just expenditures versus revenues is what you're showing here. So to go down the list, Brevard County has 3 different courses that they operate, and they are currently showing roughly a $3.3 million loss, which is about $1.1 million per course if you break it down. Melbourne operates 2 courses, and they are looking at a little bit over $1 million loss. Same thing with Daytona Beach. They're right about the same as Melbourne for their 2 courses. New Smyrna Beach is a $741,000 loss. Ours is listed there at the $558,000. The 2 courses that we found, both in Delray Beach, are showing that they turn a profit. Obviously, that would be of interest of everybody to say, hey, I wonder what their management style is and why they're turning a profit. Alan and I did reach out to their city. We tried contacting the finance department as well as their parks and recreation department, and I contacted both golf courses. Couldn't get too much information from them. I did start doing some research on my own and just tried to compare the cost per round and the number of rounds that they're doing. So for the Lakeview golf course, I found that they're doing an average of 54,000 rounds annually compared to the 45,000 that Cypress Head is showing currently. Okay. Lakeview golf course is a little bit cheaper. They're running about $25 for residents and $29 for non-residents for their price per round, and that's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday rate. And then at the municipal golf course, it's a little bit more expensive. They didn't list on their websites the number of rounds that they were doing. We have to assume it's probably pretty comparable being in a similar area. Theirs were much more expensive. They were roughly around $57 for residents and $59 a round for non-residents. So a little higher there, which is what we're pointing to why they're probably turning a profit. So our recommendation today, which is consistent with the recommendation from the Golf Advisory Board, staff is also recommending that that council approves the final 2 years of the contract. And at that time, starting roughly about January of 2021, staff will start doing some heavy research on different management styles and provide different options. We also want to do a joint meeting between the Golf Advisory Board and council to look at those different options. And at that time, we'll look at direction from council and start preparing the RFP to be released March 2022, which would need to be awarded by 2022 September. So I'll open up for any questions or discussion.
Marilyn?
Yeah, you referenced the report done in 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
And recommendation 5 in that report was that a cost-benefit analysis of managing the golf course in-house be done before the next contract renewal date. Given that you're asking for renewal, did Parks Recreation do a cost-benefit analysis of moving it in-house?
I don't believe that we have at this point, no ma'am.
Okay, so I guess has the advisory board made any comment about that? I mean, you provided this report and that was the recommendations. I guess I feel like we've been placed over a barrel. We either extend or not, and there's not been a full review as suggested 5 years ago. And I hesitate to kick the can down the road further.
Okay.
You know, it's real easy to say extend, but is that in the best interest of the city? So I would have that comment. The second one is, I think your time proposed that you want to wait another year to set a joint workshop on varying management models with a goal to have an RFP out in March 2022. That only leaves you 6 months to put an RFP out, garner responses, make a selection, negotiate with the proposed vendor for it to come to council, to award a contract to then negotiate if we go outside. I mean, we've just seen today a number of situations on the agenda where contracts have lapsed. I don't want to get in a situation with Kemper come September 22 that because we haven't provided enough lead time to do the RFP. What I'm suggesting is your process times, I think, are too narrow, and we shouldn't be looking at this in 2021. I think this should be kicked off right now, and the work needs to be done to look at what it means
To play
among
on
the
that?
various management models.
It's to play on
That's the
that.
end
You're
of
talking about the time from the RFP out. If you take a look at the time from the RFP back, where we've got decisions to make,
Right.
that's only roughly 60 days. And we're talking about all the things that we want to do, having a workshop with the golf board. We might need a second meeting. Then you've got to compile that. Then you got to get our approval and then put that RFP together. And I'm not sure that 60 days is enough. I'd like you to take a look at that as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm gonna vote for this, but I gotta tell you, I feel like I've been placed over a barrel. A couple months ago, when this came up, I remember saying I wanted to look at other possibilities. So the fact that we've got to decide today so that Kemper knows by March whether they've got the notice, the 6 months to continue on with the extension. I'm going to vote for it, but it's under duress and reluctantly.
Understood, and just to clarify, we were looking at having those meetings in January of 2021, and then we would have until September
of 2022.
Correct.
It's not the same year, so
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but you're still only going to put the RFP out in 2022. You're only allowing yourself 6 months. And I'm suggesting for something like a golf contract, something of this magnitude, you know, when you're doing the RFP, this is the type of thing where you can get into a lot of questions. You want to provide sufficient time. The timing itself may be a busy time for golf management companies, you know, in other parts of the United States, if they're interested in bidding down here. And all the back and forth, I don't want to cut it too close.
I think based on where we are today and the 6 months, if we decide to say no to Kemper and go out to bid, I think it's very clear that we're in a very compressed 6-month cycle right now. So point taken, we can adjust that back. The good news is if it does get approved, we can adjust on that tail end to make it 270 days, which we had a conversation, and Lynn runs into this problem with some of her bigger things too. We're going out to 9 months, maybe even a little bit longer for those big ticket items. Lakeside air conditioning being a key example. We've been talking about that for a year now. Point taken on the time. I do believe if we make the decision today not to renew, that the city could. It would be a tough act, but we could get to where we need to be in 6 months to get a new management firm on board. So
If that's the route we want to take.
that's what I mean. As far as staff's concerned and timing, we'd be running hard, but we can get you there. And there's some reason we had to wait this long. It wasn't pretty, but, and I don't have to get into the details, but the reason we're coming here so late. But we can still get you there in 6 months. Wait a month and a half, maybe not. Plus, we have an obligation to the current to the current company.
To Marilyn's point about the timeline, I'm thinking back to, was it 2012 when we put the initial?
Yes.
We had 5 companies bid. We had bid protests, and it was not easy. It was difficult. It was very time consuming. So you might want to take a look at what the actual timeline looked like in 12 when we went through that. And we decided at that time to go ahead and re-up with Kemper, but Billy Casper, there were other good, strong bids, and throughout the process, because of that, then you throw in times because we just knew that there was going to be a bid protest, and there was all those things. I just want to make sure we learn from that and give yourself a little bit of breathing room so that you set yourselves up for success when we make that decision.
Absolutely, and we can be much more aggressive with that scheduling. We actually did have a golf board meeting right before this council meeting, and they echoed your thoughts on wanting to do a little bit quicker as well.
Good. You got everything?
I do, thank you.
Chase?
Yeah, wonderful comments by Councilwoman Ford and good add-ins by the mayor, and I agree with all those points. I'll keep mine pretty brief. I've appreciated the work to catch up that Kemper has done. I'll support this. However, I will say that I'm interested. I want to see what other options are out there. And as much as I love those guys over there, and I genuinely like them, I think they do a good job. But I don't answer to them. I answer to the dozens of phone calls that I've got. I've gotten more phone calls and more complaints this year than I ever have about the course. So that's what that was the irritating part about it, because after all the investment that was put in, that was a bad way to kick the next year off. So I hope they step up their game.
Drew?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm gonna support it and be cautiously optimistic that as we go through that process, we thoroughly vet anything that comes up and keep a watchful eye over them and see where we are in 18 months or 12 months or whatever, and go from there and to see how it goes.
One thing for sure, and if I would
Yeah.
think they would, but if Kemper is one of our bidders, and I would think they would be, we have a track record, and whatever that track record is will speak for itself at that time. Scott?
I guess I'll be the odd person out then tonight. So, in my time on council, it seems like we've watched very much a roller coaster with the golf course. huge investment a short time ago and extended Kemper's contract in 2017. One of the things that council discussed back then and we talked about was that they were already established. We were making this big investment. They were on the ground. They'd be able to nurture it, protect it, and watch it produce in a positive manner. That really didn't happen. That really didn't come to fruition. I share Marilyn's concern that tonight I feel like I don't have a lot of choices. But I agree with Jake, I do have a choice. And the choice is to put this back on staff to go out there in 6 months and bring us other opportunities. Maybe that is Kemper, I don't know. There's 1,200 golf courses in the state of Florida. Florida leads the nation. There's no state that has more golf courses than the state of Florida. To succeed in this marketplace, we have to compete. We, on this council and this city, has to compete. I feel like extending this contract prevents us from competing for 2.5 more years. And I don't feel good about that. I don't like that idea. I do wish that there were more opportunities being brought to us tonight and probably actually months ago. And I get it, there's a lot going on in the city. We all know that and can appreciate that. That's just kind of how I feel right now. And it's not really a Parks and Rec thing. I guess it's more of a council thing for us because in the time on this council, my 5th year here, we have had a lot of conversations about the golf course, the ups, the downs, the roller
You're in
coaster
year
ride.
5? Yeah, it feels like a lot longer
I know,
than that.
right? And I just feel like, you know, we've talked a lot about trying to get that course to where it's in that break even. I mean, you look at other courses around the state, I know that some are losing really bad, some are doing okay, some are breaking even. I think council's always been consistent, and if we could just break even. But I also agree with some of Chase's comments. It's been rough the last, I don't know, it seems like 12 months. Maybe it hasn't been that much, or maybe it's been longer, but you know, you lose track because you just hear those comments and those concerns and the ups and the downs and well, we got behind and this is the problem now, and it takes, you know, every time there's a problem, it just feels like it takes so much longer to fix the problem than it took to create the problem. You know, and I know that's true in a lot of things that we do in life, but, let me wrap it up. So my concern is I just feel like we're not putting ourselves in an immediate best competitive light to compete in the market, to see what else is out there for us, and also give Kemper a chance to recompete and step up and bring something new to us. You know, I don't know that we want the same thing we've been getting. What else does Kemper have to offer? I don't know. Who else have, you know, I wasn't on the council with, like, when the mayor's talking about when we went through this process before, so I haven't heard that and seen that, and I don't know what else is out there, but I sure would like to look, and I think that it would be the right thing for us to do for our residents, to look and see. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. I certainly have concerns, the maintenance concerns. It comes down to personnel. Mr. Pickervance was out there a long time. He had a great reputation, did a solid job, and they've gone through a couple different supervisors since then. I think one was a disaster, the last guy was pretty good, now it changed again. And I'd like to give him a chance through the management of Kemper to see what kind of results we can get. My problem is, of course, inconsistency is not something that we can accept, and I think they understand that. We've had these conversations before. They know that. So, but backing up, the point Marilyn made, in 6 months, being able to do an adequate job of, first of all, making policy decisions about whether we want to take over the course ourselves or not, and then if you do want to go out to bid, what do we want in those bid specs that are different from the thing and better than what we've asked for in 2012, and then go out and get solicit adequate number of bidders and adequate quality of bidders. I don't think we can do that in 6 months and go through that whole process and get anything but a rushed result. And if we could do that in adequate time, I think I'd consider it, but me, myself, I don't think we can, and be able to do that. I don't want, because once you get rushed results, and we have to make a decision on that, and then we're stuck with that for another 5 to 10 years. And I think I would rather take these next 18 to 24 months and move a little bit more methodically, thinking that this is going to impact us for the next 5, 10, 15 years out there. I can't think short-term to get, because the short-term result is not, it's kind of what's got us into this, the problems with maintenance and things like that. They're going out there now. I need to think a little bit what we do in the short term to get us to where we need to be in the long term. That's kind of, if that sounds like circular thinking, maybe it is. I don't know, but that's what's going on in my head.
Mayor?
Uh-huh.
Gosh, Councilman Stiltner. Right on. I would like to propose, well, we'd have to vote down this motion. What if we don't make the extension for 2 years? What if we only make it 1 year? That provides us time to be more deliberate and look at other options. And yet it also, I think, speaks to Councilman Stiltner's point, which, gosh, I agree with. We're not doing the best that we can for our community. We may not be, getting as good as we need to. And so that may be a question for the attorney. Can we, because I'm reading the agreement here, and I can't tell whether this is the only option.
So the contract provides for a 2-year extension.
Right.
In essence, what you'd be doing is offering a 1-year extension that would still require acceptance by the contractor. You can't unilaterally just say, we're going to extend it.
Yeah, that's where I
You'd
was
have to
going with
accept
this.
the
I didn't
question.
know if this could be changed.
The other thing that comes up is that, and we dealt with this with extending Waste Pro, is the commitment that they make to you in 2 years versus the commitment they make to you in 1 year, and resources may be different, may affect it as well.
Well, I'd like to think that it sends them a message that if they want to rebid, they can, but they need to step it up. Because I think otherwise just approving the 2-year extension, we may continue on that roller coaster.
Mayor, if I can just comment too on one more thing that you mentioned. I know that a lot of contracts and bids that we see take a really long time to go through, but typically those are things when we're rebuilding, redesigning, renovating, stuff like that. This product's already there. It's not going anywhere. We're not changing. We're not going to redesign. We're not going to rebuild a golf course. So we're talking 7 months out. The organizations, and I'm just throwing this out, but it seems to me like the organizations and the businesses that do this that are professionals, they've already got their roadmap, so to speak. So whether it's a 18-hole course in Port Orange or Delray or Ormond Beach or Daytona, I would imagine a lot of those principles are the same. They're principles of success. They're going to take those to those different courses. So to me, 7 months seems like a significant amount of time, and it should be sufficient if, assuming our staff can turn over the RFP to get that out there as quick. You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know, maybe Jake, you can weigh in on that a little bit. But
Well, so a couple things I'd like to weigh in on. Number one, I've told you that we will get there in 6 months. Now, you can stand up here and nitpick the contract for 5.5 months and say, you didn't make it, I told you you wouldn't make it. Or you can help me be part of the team and get me there. You all are part of that win. But this half of it can do it. We wouldn't be here tonight with an option if we couldn't do it. We'd say we kind of screwed up here. And believe it or not, I think our new ERP is going to help a little bit because things move almost too fast for me sometimes now.
We'll talk about that in the next item.
The other thing that we have to come to grips with is that the contract, whether you take it or leave it, we still got to run a golf course, right? And possibly 90% of the people that are running the golf course now are going to be running the golf course regardless of who you pick. So we got to keep that in mind. Staff and the Golf Advisory Board, your professionals, if you will, at this, have recommended that we keep Kemper for some of the reasons that others have already mentioned about Kemper. The last thing that somewhat troubles me is, and I hear it a lot up on the dais here, is people talking about the millions of people that are complaining about the golf course. But the people who plan the golf course and fill out these customer satisfaction surveys aren't saying that. Peter and Susan and the Golf Advisory Board, they're very critical of the golf course because they want the most bang for the buck. But people, and they're critical, but they're not complaining every day. If council's getting dozens of complaints, you need to share those dozens of complaints with us. You sure as heck share dozens of complaints about traffic, about parking on the right-of-way, about everything else. Why am I not seeing all these complaints about the golf course? I'm not tied to Kemper. I want to do what's best for the city, but I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing based on fact, not based on what we think. I also concur with your comment that when it goes, it's not a roller coaster. It's a straight drop down and a long, slow hill up. And that's the way grass goes. You know, I got it in my backyard now. So, and it wasn't pretty. And I'm not making excuses either. It's slowly but surely getting better. But I just want to be careful in what we do. But staff is standing by to do anything as of right now, a year from now, 2 years from now, we can execute.
Let's hear from the public. Anybody here wish to speak to the item? There being none, debate comes back to us. Council, we have a proper motion second on the floor. Do we want to execute that, or is there further debate or question? What would you like to do?
Vote.
Hearing nothing else, call the question.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Sportman.
No.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. 4-1.
But I'm looking forward to some options.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Brings us to item 20, approval of statement of work order number 2. Recommended motion is to move to approve statement of work number 2 with Collaborative Solutions Master Services Agreement so that we can add 44 days and an amount not to exceed $52,900 and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute all contract documents. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
We have a proper motion, and second on the floor. The item's open for discussion. Sir.
Mayor Alan Rosen, Assistant City Manager. The item that you have before you is currently budgeted and non-departmental, so the money is in the budget. The main purpose of this second statement of work with Collaborative Solutions, as you know, they were the partner that helped us implement the new system. Because we had a one-year implementation, there are certain things that we do that are not included in that 1 year that we have never done yet. For example, open enrollment, W-2 year-end, current integrations, reporting, budgeting, production, audit. A lot of those things we're pulling out of the old system. So from last fiscal year, last annual year. And so this coming year will be the first time that we actually use those things that we have purchased from Workday in the new system. We'll have that data in the new system, then we use it to report on for the year after. And so in order to make sure that we understand what we're doing and we know what we're doing and we have the backup to make sure that we're doing it correctly, we want to make sure and have them here to have our back when we start running those processes and those reports to make sure we're getting the right thing out of the system. And if we have anything that we can get on a lickety split and not have to wait to create those reports for the audit for the federal government and all those things.
I believe you just used the Shawshank Redemption line.
Did I?
Yeah.
Which one?
Anybody else catch it? No? Right.
Yeah, I might have unconsciously. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
With that, why don't we start with Chase for questions?
Yeah, actually, you answered it. My only question was going to be, and I don't mind it. I think it's reasonable. I was just going to ask how you arrive. We're just in February now. How'd you arrive at 44 more days, knowing that you'd need that? But asked and answered.
Hey, we think ahead once in a while.
No, I'm good. That's fine. Very reasonable. Drew?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I'll support it. We got to see it through, and I mean, this is just the next step. So.
Marilyn?
No comment.
Scott?
No, I'm good.
So basically, this brings us to the end of the calendar year?
It brings us
A little
just
bit
past the
past.
end of next calendar year, and the reason
A
to
little
Chase's
overlap,
point.
'cause end of year.
Yeah, exactly. I asked
Okay.
my team, finance, HR, what would be the best time frame for you, knowing that it already goes to the end of this year. Because of the audit coming out of the new system for next year, they want to make sure they've got that slight overlap so that when we do that audit in the beginning of next calendar year, we're covered for that process.
Okay.
Like you don't slow down until after the finish
So
line.
this will get us through the end of the calendar year, plus a little bit more to take care of the end of the year items. And then, of course, these dollars will be coming out of fiscal year 2021, because the fiscal year starts in September.
Well, it's part
The
of a
con-
project, so
yeah,
it'll
the
roll
project
over.
will roll over,
Okay.
so
It's-
we
it's
won't have
tagged
to
to the
rebudget
project.
for those 44 days.
And that's where I was going with that, if this is.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, council? Anyone here want to speak to the item? There being none, back to us. Final comment or debate? We have a proper motion second on the floor. Call the question.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. You have your extension. That brings us to City Attorney. You had an interesting inquiry, Matt.
Yes. So we have a property owned by the city in Daytona Beach Shores, and it was formerly the home of a water tower, and we kind of just had a phone call out of the blue about a neighboring property owner who would now like to potentially purchase that property. That hasn't really been on our radar. We talked to the utilities team, and there are some, so even though the tower's now gone, there are some utility mains that would need to be covered by easements. That kind of greatly reduces what you could possibly do with the property. So I think it's really only marketable to maybe some nearby, some abutting property owners. So the offer that was conveyed as just an initiation of a negotiation was $2,500. I don't know what the value is of this property. It's a very unique kind of pie-shaped property. I think you've got an aerial in your packet for this item tonight. So wanted to kind of gauge the interest, if there is any. I don't have a recommendation for you. Just wanted to see if this is something that the council would like us to kind of at least get some pricing for, see what that market might be, if we can
Well, I
even
think
do
you
that.
got two questions there. A, do we want to sell it? And B, if so, what do we think is fair? And I think question one is, council, are you interested in selling it and seeing if we can get some found money?
Or other options.
Yeah.
I
Seems
see
like
one
they-
person.
Seems like they want to give it away. They want us to give it away at.
Well, and
Yeah.
and I think that everybody starts. It's a negotiation.
True.
Yeah, I think it would be in the best interest to allow staff and the attorney's office to get a value for it, decide whether you want to sell it, lease it, and the third option is to put a new water tower up, and say your water compliments of the city of Port Orange and a big sign up on top, but probably too cost prohibitive. But but.
We seem to
the-
be getting it over there through the one pipe we have
Yeah,
left.
that's true. So, but yeah, lease might be an option too for the homeowner. We just don't know yet, but.
So I think that we have a consensus to go ahead and explore it.
All right, thank you.
What else you got?
That's it?
City manager?
Yeah, mine's a little bit more dangerous.
Oh, boy.
Last year, we signed with your approval, we signed a option contract with Dave's Pest Control on US 1. And at the time, I said that I wouldn't come to you until it looked like fund balance reserves would be able to absorb it without going below the 30%. We've just transitioned over to Workday and taken a look at everything now that everything's smoothed out. And it looks like the option contract, with that withdrawal, you would still have money over the reserve, which we will come to you subsequently if there's consensus to move forward. That we'll start looking at other items that are on the purchase when you have enough fund reserve list that we had, the unfunded list. We'll go through that and take a look at other items. But number one on my priority list is Dave's Pest Control, because if we don't, then it goes into somebody else's hands. My intent is not to hold on to that property forever, unless parking becomes a factor down there as we deal with other folks. So I'm not looking for a vote tonight. I'm kind of looking for a head nod that you want us to go ahead and proceed,
Gauging our interest, in other words?
kind of like Matt did, to see if that's where we want to go. And we have some due diligence to do, some things to take care of before I come and put it up for a vote.
Got a thumbs up from me, and I always like hearing more updates going on to there, so heck yeah.
Sure. And there's a lot of saber rattling in the area for people wanting to do stuff. So we're getting more calls every day.
I think, anybody, any issue with that?
No.
Okay. And for my part, a lot of people come to us wanting us to do this or do this or do that or do that, with whether it be an approval for a project or for things that we don't even control the land. And if you have the land, you have control. And I think that's the bottom line.
I don't think that's the first time I've heard that.
I don't think it'll be the last. What else you got?
Next council meeting, February 18th, I'll be doing a quick brief on the city manager evaluation process. It's February again. Seems like it just happened. But if you guys want to waive and not do it, I'm welcome to let it go for a year. But other than that, we'll brief it on the
No,
18th.
I don't want to wait another year to get
Okay.
feedback.
All right.
All right.
That's all I have, sir.
Very good. Council committee reports, River to Sea, TPO?
Not a whole lot right now. Everybody's waiting to see what's happened in the state with the budget.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of review on projects we've already talked about. And then on the general employee pension plan, we threw that out last week, or the last meeting.
Very good.
We haven't met since.
With that, anything else come before us this evening? If not, have a good night.